Over the weekend, the exodus out of Sudan began in earnest. Governments around the world getting their people out in their hundreds. The biggest indicator yet that the expectation internationally is that this conflict is spiraling out of control. One by one, embassies are shutting down in Khartoum as staff were evacuated. Now, the focus is on everyone else. Over 1,000 citizens of EU countries have been airlifted out already. The French, for example, evacuated almost 500 people, 200 of them French, the others from a number of different countries, including Britain. At the moment, the Foreign Office advice to the estimated 4,000 British citizens who remain in country is to, quote, shelter in place, similar to the advice the US is giving its citizens.
Of course I know that he has no right to an evacuation. I get it.
Javed Abdul Maneem's father, who has dual British Sudanese citizenship, was taking that advice. He had stayed in Khartoum while other family members, dual citizens of different countries, had left.
My dad received a phone call from the consulate asking him if he was ready to be packed. Passport, medicines, are you ready to go? My sister had a conversation that he would be high on an evacuation priority list. So my dad declined invites from those family convoys to join them. I'm waiting for the British Embassy. Thank you, go safely. And next thing we know, on Sunday afternoon, press release, we've completed our successful evacuation, the embassy is shut. My dad's waiting for you. He's sitting in an apartment waiting for you. They've all left without him. All they had to say was, we're not doing this for you. So it's my position that their communication has increased the chances of him coming to harm and has markedly decreased his chance of leaving Sudan safely, if ever. They just needed to say. That's all they had to do, is just say. It's no good finding out this morning, and it's no good after we've been receiving phone calls to find out on Twitter that you've already left while he's waiting for you.
Now, in fairness to the British response, the government here can't announce an evacuation in a war zone until all the pieces are in place, and Britain has more of its citizens in the country than many other European countries have. Also, we understand that a British military reconnaissance team has landed in Port Sudan to look at possible evacuation options from there. 2 British warships are preparing to assist in one of a number of possible rescue operations being considered. As governments around the world were evacuating their citizens today, we filmed with the Eldin family from Khartoum, leaving their home for the countryside in northern Sudan, and doing so with no help from anyone. One family among the tens of thousands of Sudanese internally displaced.
Well, the Foreign Office Minister Andrew Mitchell joins us now from Central Lobby in the Houses of Parliament, and he's been in the Cobra meeting today. Thank you very much for joining us. If the French and Germans have been able to fly people out of Khartoum, why haven't we?
Well, let's be clear. We and the Americans were the first people to evacuate. We both evacuated our embassy staff. We have a duty of care to all British citizens, but we have a special legal duty of care to our own staff in the British Embassy, and we did it because they were in extreme danger. That's why we did it. The British Embassy was caught between the two sides, and that's why it was necessary to get them out. And the Americans have made clear they're not currently planning to take out any of their own citizens. We have been registering citizens from Britain with passports and dual passports as well as mono-nationals, and the Foreign Office has been working night and day for the last 7 days to keep in touch with as many of them as we possibly can.
But why haven't we been flying them out, like the French, the Germans, the Spanish, the Dutch, Greeks even? I mean, you know, why not?
I think that you are overstating the extent to which the other countries have been flying out all their citizens. We have far more than any other country, and we are planning for the next step. We've always made it absolutely clear that we will do everything we can to assist in an evacuation with our citizens, and we are looking at every single conceivable option, and as soon as we have anything further to say about those options, we will do it. But you may rest assured that the British government is doing everything physically it possibly can to ensure that we can evacuate our citizens when it is safe to do so.
The trouble with the phrase everything we can is that it could mean everything or it could mean nothing, because you may decide that you can't get them out. I mean, can you say tonight you've decided you are going to rescue them?
What we have decided to do is to bend every sinew to make sure that if it is possible to do so, we help evacuate our citizens. But I can't tell you how we would do it. All I can tell you is that we are exploring every single option, and I mean every single option. The Foreign Office has had a crisis centre in operation now for nearly a week. We have 200 people working in it. We are doing our best to keep in touch every day in very difficult circumstances with our citizens, and as soon as we have something further to say, we will do so. In the meanwhile, our strong advice to British citizens is to try and stay indoors. It's extremely dangerous outside on the streets of Khartoum. They should stay indoors if they possibly can. If they wish to move because they have better information on the ground than we do in the Foreign Office, then they may do so, but they do so at their own risk. I
mean, the trouble is, again, as you may have heard in our report, there are families who listened to your official advice thinking you were coming to get them. And they have missed out on an opportunity to get out with friends and family. You know, in the case we just heard from, an elderly gentleman in Khartoum has been left in his apartment thinking the Brits were coming to get him, only to discover that the embassy's been evacuated and he's stuck.
Well, I completely understand his frustration, and I feel enormous worry for him. But I have to tell you that the Foreign Office's messaging has been absolutely consistent. We have said that there is no current plan for evacuation and that we are working on finding a plan. We have only evacuated our diplomatic staff for the reasons which I explained. They were in very serious jeopardy. Other missions were being attacked. So we did it for that reason, and it was an extremely successful military operation. But we've always made absolutely clear the Foreign Office's advice is to stay put and await further information. No one was told that they would be evacuated by Britain at this stage.
But was it judged too dangerous to do what the French are still doing today and running flights out of Khartoum? Or was there any sort of pressure not to do something different to the Americans?
No, the very difficult circumstances we found there led the Prime Minister to make the decision to launch a military operation. The Americans took the same judgment to get our embassy staff out, and that's what he did. But we fully accept, of course, our duty of care to all British citizens, and we are working up plans, looking at every single conceivable option, so that if it is safe to do so, we are able to pull them out, and that is what we will do. But we are working on those plans. When there's something further to say, the Prime Minister, I'm sure, will say it. But in the meanwhile, people should accept the Foreign Office's travel advice, stay put, and be assured that the British government is working on every conceivable plan we can to provide options, and we will then decide what we can do next.
Andrew Mitchell, thank you very much.